we're the only ministry that leads trips like this. And we call them immersive experiences. And so this is where we do training with students. We will take a youth group or a group from a Christian school, and we do training with them, and then we take them to Salt Lake City, Utah, and we interact with Mormons, and we study theology.
For 2024, we want to encourage you to do some planning, okay? And so, yeah, that means being intentional. In fact, intentionality is often the precursor for action, and for action that we want to take. And so we're going to start off 2024 with some intentionality here with you guys. And in particular, we want to let you know about how you can be intentional in your planning for your family, planning for the discipleship of your kids, your own discipleship, but how MAVEN can partner with you in this. And we want to talk about some of the great MAVEN resources that you and your family can take advantage of this year. So you'll notice if you are listening to this podcast on the very day it was released, you'll notice that it's Tuesday, not Thursday.
Why are you messing us up, Brett?
It's not me. It's those data-driven people who analyze analytics, and they've got a little pencil in their ear or in their pocket, and they're very nerdy. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to start releasing it on Tuesday and really try to give people more time in the week to listen to the podcast, because a lot of people, the majority of people, listen to the podcasts Monday through Friday. And so we are going to be releasing podcasts on Tuesday, so plan for that. And I would encourage you, subscribe right now. Pause this if you have to. Whatever you're listening to this on, whether it's Apple or Spotify, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss the newest podcasts that come out. Also, I would encourage you, leave a review. If you're on Apple or Spotify, leave a review. A positive review if you think this podcast has been helpful. Tell people how it's been helpful, and that really that review floats up to the algorithm gods as a sweet sacrifice. This is some of my past pagan influences. But it does help in terms of people, getting this podcast on the radar and really helping to provide a tool. We want to come alongside parents and give you tools to disciple your kids effectively in this cultural moment.
Yeah, so we have some good podcast topics coming up in 2024. We have some great podcast guests coming up in 2024. So
we have been intentional in our planning for 2024. We are doing more planning in 2024 than we've ever done.
For the podcast.
Yeah. And we've got some guests that we're going to be having. We're looking at doing some live stream events and just engaging this community. We love this podcast community. We love the people that we've met, some of you who we've met on the road at speaking events, at conferences, at MAVEN conferences. A lot of like-minded parents out there who want to equip young people with a biblical worldview for this cultural moment.
Yeah.
So, all right. Now, some of you are going to need to plan a little vacation, a little vacay, as Erin says.
I never say that.
Oh, who is that? A holiday, right? That's actually the Christian term, holiday, holy day.
Yeah, I like how the English say that, holiday.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people say it.
I can't do an English accent.
I think I read a lot of English books, and so holiday. So yes, plan a trip, maybe as a couple, maybe as a group of moms or a group of dads.
Or a group of couples.
To come to one of our MAVEN conferences that are just, we hear every year, have been such an encouragement for people who come. They walk away feeling more equipped and prepared to disciple their kids in this time and place that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, what we're trying to do at the MAVEN conference. And let's just, can we agree that in-person events are important? I mean, that was one of the big lessons from 2020, the COVID year, right? Technology is a good tool, but it is no replacement for face-to-face interaction because we are embodied creatures. Our Christian worldview tells us that our flesh is important.
Yes.
It's not the most important thing, but it is important. We are incarnated creatures. And so being live and in person is way different than watching a video online. Now, doesn't mean you shouldn't watch the video online, but we want to encourage people to make it a priority to be at one of the MAVEN adult conferences. We have 2, and the vision behind them really is to get in person together, to be encouraged, to be challenged, but to take a Christian worldview, a biblical worldview about all kinds of topics that are related to raising the next generation, and then add practical application. Like, we don't want to just think about these things. We want to figure out what then should we do? What are the action steps? But we also don't want to just take action without thinking carefully. And you're going to get both. And so we've got 2 conferences.
So, and our speakers this year for 2024 at the conferences is going to be Kathy Cook. We've had Kathy on the podcast a couple times now. We love Kathy. So she will be a returning speaker at the MAVEN conference. Another returning speaker will be Jay Warner Wallace, Jim Wallace, a good friend and popular speaker, especially.
One of the best. I mean, you're downplaying this guy, honey. I mean, come on.
Not. Don't say that. Jim might hear this, and that's all he needs to make fun of me.
Okay. Well, no, Jim, I would say is maybe the best communicator in terms of apologists out there. And so, yeah. So
trying to butter him up.
Yeah, actually.
You really do hope he hears this.
I hope he hears this. And he's
and
like,
then Jonathan Morrow, director at Impact 360, leads their. Well, he's over tons of stuff. He's director
of the student discipleship and cultural engagement.
Yeah, he steers the ship there at Impact 360, but. Also a return speaker. We always hear so much good feedback from Jonathan. He's a dad and he's involved in the lives of students and really has a heart for young people. A new speaker this year is Eric Tanis, professor at Biola.
If you haven't heard Eric Tanis, you are absolutely going to love Eric Tanis. His passion for God's truth is just going to spill all over you. And I think Eric alone will be worth the cost of admission. And then, of course, there is Mrs. Erin Kunkel.
Of course, Brett and I will be there with the team of speakers. So we're looking forward to this year. We've put a lot of work already into the conference, and
we have a particular theme. The theme is Illuminate, where we want to specifically look at God's word, the authority of God's word. And so the talks are going to be related to building a case for why God's word is authoritative so that we have more confidence that God's word should be steering our lives and steering our families' lives, and that God has truly spoken through his word. And then we're going to look at how God's word informs very important issues in our lives. So I'm really excited about the theme. And the theme is the same for both of our MAVEN conferences. So if you weren't aware, we do 2 MAVEN conferences now. One in Southern California, which the dates on that are February the 23rd and 24th. And let me just encourage you, we are very intentional in everything that we do. We think carefully through everything. And so choosing Southern California as a destination in the month of February was very intentional, because we know there's some of you who live in states like Minnesota and South Dakota and Montana.
Oh, you sound
and
so
Maine
snobby.
And New Jersey. And I mean, where there's just a crazy amount of snow and cold. And by the time February rolls around,
You're sick of it.
You're ready to move.
You want to come to the beach.
You want to come to Southern California for a little R&R, but also some spiritual refreshment. And so you need to plan a holiday.
Yeah.
And so February 23rd and 24th, Friday night and Saturday.
And then we will be in Texas, September 6th through 7th. We will be in Frisco, Texas, which is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
And that one is that's intentional too. For those of you who just, you feel like you need to suffer a little bit more, you go to Texas in September. And,
it can be nice in Texas in September. It can be.
Honey. Okay, yeah. If you were,
Well, I love Texas, so I'm happy to go any time of year. I'm not a California snob like you.
I was going to say, if you were if you were in Minnesota, but no, Minnesota in September is like great.
Yeah.
But you want to go because you want to suffer for the Lord. Or and that suffering will help you go deeper.
They have air conditioning. Our conference is indoor and there's air conditioning. And I love the state of Texas. And so I'm always happy to go anytime.
There are great people in Texas. We do love Texas. Last year, our first year was fantastic with 300 people there at that conference.
So that's our two big adult events. And we say adult events because it is geared towards the teacher, the youth pastor, the parent, the grandparent, people who are in the lives of young people. Of course, young people is the heart of MAVEN. And
0 to 18.
Yeah.
0 to 18. So whether you're the parent of young children or teenagers, you are going to benefit from the conference.
But we always get the question, can I bring my teenager to the MAVEN conference? And the answer is, of course, yes.
Keep them away. This is a break.
No. Well, you might want to use it as a break. But yes, we always have teens come to the MAVEN conference. More and more every year come. And they love it too. I'm actually thinking about the conference in Dallas. I talked to the sweetest young gal. I think she was 8th or 9th grade. And her and I ended up talking for like 30 minutes about books. And I ended up giving her a book to read. Actually, that reminds me, I need to follow up with her to see if she read it. But anyway, there are young people at the MAVEN conference, and they love the MAVEN conference too. So they are more than welcome to come.
And that's a little unexpected. I remember like 2 years ago when you did your talk on God's design for marriage and family.
Yeah.
And you had like an 18-year-old young man come up to you afterwards and say he was just so struck by the talk and hadn't thought
I was
about
surprised.
It that way before.
Yeah, that's right. He came because it was like how to build a family culture that's in but not of.
No. I'm talking about the restoration.
Yes.
Restore God's design for the family.
Okay, that one. Well, I've had young people in the talks that I think when I'm writing the talk, I'm writing to the parent, and these young people have come in, and I know what kid you're talking about, and he came up to me afterwards, and I said to him, I'm just curious, why did you come in here? Because it was during breakouts, there were lots of choices, and he said, oh, well, I'm going to have a family one day, so I want to start thinking about these things now. And my mind was blown.
That was the theology of home talk. Was that the theology of home
maybe
talk?
It was. Anyway, there's always young people, and I'm always encouraged by these young people who are wanting to think more deeply about these topics and even think ahead, to family. So, yes, you can bring young people to the MAVEN
young
conference.
People at every MAVEN conference.
But then we have some events that are specifically geared towards young people. So we want to let you guys know about those.
Yeah, 2 big events for your students. And that is those are the 2 main target audiences of MAVEN. We want to equip those who are equipping young people, and we also want to equip young people themselves. And so we're excited about April 26th and 27th. We're going to be doing our first MAVEN student conference in Florida. It's called the Coram Deo Conference, which Coram Deo is the Latin for before the face of God. And what we want to help young people do in this conference is to live their life in acknowledgement that we live all of life before the face of God, that God is Lord over all, that every aspect of reality is informed by God's truth, by biblical truth, by the Christian worldview. And so we think that this is a youth conference that goes much deeper than your typical youth conference. And it's going to be done in a way that is going to speak to the 21st century young person. And so one of the things that we're doing in this conference is not just having speakers to address or teach on the Christian worldview or apologetics or cultural issues, but we're going to pair that with somebody who's also going to share a testimony, a powerful story of how maybe God has transformed them, or how they've come out of maybe atheism, or maybe they've experienced, you're going to share this year, Erin's one of our speakers, she's going to share about being a teen mom. And then after Erin shares her testimony, her story of being a teen mom and being confronted with abortion, Megan Allman is going to get up and she is going to then give a case for a pro-life view and equip young people with powerful arguments to defend the life of the unborn. Ryan Reese is going to be speaking. He's the co-founder of the Whosoevers, and he's got that crazy drug, sex, and rock and roll testimony where God radically saves him, even though he grew up in a Christian home and was the son of a prominent pastor. He goes off the cliff and just lives a life of sin, and then God saves him. And we're to connect that with truth and how, because Christianity is true, we have stories like Ryan's. Mm-hmm. And so we're connecting true stories with the truth of Christianity. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a great conference. Who else is speaking?
Yeah, the speakers are... we're intentional about the speakers that we bring in.
Very intentional.
Not just, we do think about, who are good communicators and thinkers, but especially with our student conference, we want to bring people in who love students, who don't look down at young people, mm-hmm. but who really honor young people in how they speak and teach. And so you mentioned Megan Allman. She's going to be a speaker. Tim Barnett, Ryan Reese.
Which to get Tim Barnett, if you haven't seen Tim Barnett, he does Red Pen Logic. Mm-hmm. Look up, just do a Google search for Red Pen Logic. Tim does a bunch of great social media videos that are reaching young people all across the country. Great YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. It's a great resource. Christian schools and youth groups have used his resources, and Tim is great at communicating with young people.
Yeah. Of course, Tim is from Stand to Reason, so he's going to join us at the MAVEN Conference. Monique Duson, who's spoken at the MAVEN Adult Conference, is also going to come and speak at our youth conference as well. Brett and I will be there. So that is going to be, I don't know if we said the date yet, but this student conference in Florida is going to be on April 26th and 27th.
Yeah, and that's going to be in Fort Myers, Florida. And we are hoping youth groups and parents and Christian schools are going to travel, mm-hmm. make that a destination event in April.
And so for student conferences that we've done in the past, we always get the question, can adults come? Like with our adult conference, can youth come? We always get the question, well, can adults come to the youth conference? So Brett, what's your answer to that?
Yes, if and only if you bring a student with you. I don't want a group of like 10 adults just coming to the conference, because it is a student conference. We want, hey, you can come, adults, you can come, mom and dad, you can come, youth pastor, we want you there. But the requirement is that you bring a student mm-hmm. with you.
Yes.
We want to get students to this event. And it's just so strategic to get this kind of training into our young people at the earliest of ages. And so this conference is for middle school, high school, and college students. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the second event that is geared towards students that we offer at MAVEN is our immersive experiences. Now, if you haven't heard about our immersive experiences before, this is a unique thing that MAVEN does. As far as we know, we're the only ministry that leads trips like this. And we call them immersive experiences. And so this is where we do training with students. We will take a youth group or a group from a Christian school, and we do training with them, and then we take them to Salt Lake City, Utah, and we interact with Mormons, and we study theology. So we call that's
on our biblical trip.
Our theological trip. Then we do immersive experiences to college campuses. And
that's our apologetics trip.
And so we do training again beforehand with the youth group or the group from the Christian school. And then we go to college campuses and we set up dialogues with atheists and all kinds of people who believe different things than we do as Christians. And we let students hear directly from them. We train them in dialogue, asking good questions. And so these are the immersive experiences that we offer at MAVEN.
So these trips are the most powerful trips that we do with students. And not just that we do. We would actually argue these are the most powerful trips that your students can go on that are available out there. I know that's a big, bold claim. I don't think it's overstated. Of all the stuff, Erin and I have been doing youth ministry, doing work with youth for, gosh, I don't even want to say how many years. Almost 30 years. We have done pretty much everything you can think of. We have done all kinds of mission trips. Where you go and serve the poor, you go to the inner city, go to Indian reservation, or things like that. We have done the camps, the week-long camps, the weekend retreats. We have done houseboat trips. I mean, all kinds of stuff. In terms of God's Spirit's impact on young lives and the fruit we see from them, nothing has been more fruitful than the immersive experiences.
And we've seen this not only in the youth that we've worked with and taken on trips and our own youth group kids, but also in the 5 children that we have. And we have taken our kids on these trips since they were little kids. Mm-hmm. And even in our own kids' lives who have gone on multiple trips like this, the impact in their life has been profound.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just a quick snapshot. Our 12-year-old Jonah was on a biblical immersive experience to Utah in October, and his buddy who lives next door went with us, and they were helping on the trip, but they also were participating in it and just observing as 12-year-olds. Mm-hmm. They came back the next week. We had Jehovah's Witnesses going around our neighborhood. They were so excited. And they were prepared to talk to these Jehovah's Witnesses who were coming door to door. I mean, that's just a little snapshot of the kind of impact. And so, yeah, as Erin said, our kids have gone on multiple trips. They've been on every trip that we have, mm-hmm. every kind of trip. They've been to Utah. They've been to the college campuses. So and if there was one trip we could send our kid to, like if we were told, hey, you have one
trip.
Spiritual trip, one trip for the spiritual development of your kids, this would be it. It'd be an immersive experience.
So this year, one unique offering that we're giving with immersive experiences that we've never given before at MAVEN is our open enrollment trip. And so, as I said, we for years now, years and years, have been taking groups from Christian schools, or a youth pastor will reach out, hey, I want to take my youth group. And so we do a trip, we put a trip together for that group. But we have always gotten emails and parents asking us, I can't get my youth pastor to do the trip, or my kid's Christian school doesn't want to do the trip, but I want to send my kid on this trip. And so this year, for the first time, we are able to offer an open enrollment trip. So open enrollment means you can send your junior high.
No,
just high schooler. Yeah, that's right. So you can send your high school or college student on a MAVEN trip, and you can just send them on their own, and they'll meet up with a group of students in Utah led by our staff, and they can come on a trip.
Yeah, we have a full itinerary planned. You can either drive your kid in if you're, close by, or they fly in, and our staff will pick them up from the airport. We'll handle all the logistics. And this is happening in July. So July 14th through the 20th is when this trip is going to take place. It's going to be in the Salt Lake City area. And we would encourage you, invest. Like, look, as parents, we invest in all kinds of things. We invest in our kids' sports. And so we as parents will pay thousands of dollars for their club sports. We will invest in tutoring and SAT prep.
Private school, all kinds of stuff for academics.
And those can be really good things.
Yeah.
But are we willing to invest just as much of our financial resources in their spiritual development and training? And so the trip is $795, which we think is actually a really good price for a week-long trip. Plus, you've got to add the travel costs, but then food and training resources and the experience and our staff who are leading it is all included. It is an amazing experience, and it's one where maybe as a parent you've got to let go of some of the protection or maybe even overprotection, and you got to send your kid on this, and you're going to be in good hands. I mean, we have vetted staff. We do background checks with our staff. We have good people who we've been working with side by side and doing these trips. They're well skilled in leading these trips. Mm-hmm. It's your student will be impacted.
Yeah.
And so if you want some more information, here's what I encourage you to do. Go to our website, maventruth.com, and just go to the top and look for the Immersive Experience tab. Go to the Immersive Experience tab and look for the Open Enrollment button, and that'll give you more information. Now, if there's anyone out there who maybe you need some help financially, we've got some folks who want to step up and provide some scholarships. So that's a possibility as well as some scholarship help. But this is a worthy investment, and we can say that as we have invested in our own kids to go on these immersive experiences. Can be some life-changing stuff.
Yeah. So that's in a snapshot 2024 for MAVEN. We wanted to get this information out to you in January so you can plan and be intentional like you started the podcast, Brett. We know with family life, you have to be intentional and you have to plan ahead a lot of times to do some things that you want to really do and prioritize. So we know the trip in July for young people, you got to plan early. Mm-hmm. We know these conferences are worth your time and investment. So we wanted to get them on your calendar and just let you know all that's happening here at MAVEN in 2024.
Yeah, and our biblical worldview informs everything that we do. So everything that we try to do here at MAVEN, we do with excellence, as for the Lord, not just for other people. But I think what you'll find in MAVEN Resources is a level of Christian worldview insight and excellence that's going to equip you and your family.
MAVEN exists to help the next generation know truth, pursue goodness, and create beauty for the cause of Christ. To find out more, check out MAVENTruth.com.